Well, hello, St. John's. It is lovely to see you again. If you've not seen me before, you've not met me before, my name is Chris. I'm one of the governors at St. John's School, and I'm also the minister at a church here in Stanmore Chapel, which is the church I'm in today. So it's lovely to have the opportunity to speak to... Sorry, hold on. Better just take this call. Hello? Oh dear, yeah. And they're not being very kind to you. Oh. What should you do? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, good luck. Okay, bye. Never mind. It's one of the things about doing my sort of job when you're sorry, hold on. I better just take this call. Hello? Yeah. Oh, and you've got to talk to your boss about it, about what happened. Right. What do I think you should do? Dunno. Okay, well, good luck. Bye. Sorry about that. A bit rude, isn't it, when I'm supposed to be talking to you, but people keep... Come on. Sorry. Hello? Yes, well, I am quite busy actually at the moment, but go on, carry on. Right. And they need one. Have you got one? Right. What do I think you should do? I don't know. Why do people keep asking me that? Okay. Right, bye. Oh, dear. It's very tricky, isn't it? All these people keep ringing me up with all these problems that they've got, asking me all these questions about what they should do. How am I supposed to know? I mean, how are any of us supposed to know? It can be very tricky, can't it? Life. Lots of decisions to make. How are we supposed to treat other people? What's the right thing to do in a situation? What's the wrong thing to do? I don't know how we're supposed to work it all out. I don't know if you ever find that. If you feel like in life, knowing what's right and what's wrong, knowing which direction we should go, which decisions we should make, it is not always easy. I wish that there was something that could help us. Hold on. Sorry. Hello? Oh, hi, Mrs. Bolter. Yeah? Oh, a story in the Bible. All right. Good idea. I'll have a look. Okay, thanks. Bye. There we go. Fortunately, there's someone who knows what to do, and it's Mrs. Bolter. And she says that if we want help thinking through how we ought to live, the kind of people we ought to be, what would be good things to do and bad things to do, the kind of decisions we ought to make, that there might be a story in the Bible that helps us. So let me just have a look. I've got my Bible here. I'm going to have a look at Matthew, which is one of the Gospels, one of the stories, the true stories of Jesus and how he lived and what he did and said and taught. And in Matthew chapter 7, Jesus tells us this little story. Some of you might have heard it before, I wonder. Jesus says, everyone who hears these words of mine, Jesus has just been teaching lots of people in a very famous bit of teaching called the Sermon on the Mount. He's been up on the mountain and crowds of people have come to listen to him. And Jesus says, anyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice, so anyone who hears what Jesus has said and puts them into practice, does them, doesn't just hear them and then forget about them, but hears them and then does what Jesus says, he says they're like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, and the streams rose, and the winds blew like the storms that we had blowing through Stanmore a couple of weeks ago, and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. Right, so Jesus says, if we hear what he says and we do it, we're like wise people who've built our houses on the rock, and they'll stay standing. Now, I haven't got a rock here, but what I have got is this nice, solid table. And so what Jesus is saying, I suppose, is if we listen to him and we do what he says, we're like people who build a house. Here's a lovely house that I built a little bit earlier. And Jesus says if we listen to what he says and we put into practice, we're like people who build our house on the rock. Now, because the table's nice and steady and solid like a rock, doesn't matter if things come bashing and banging. The house still stands firm. Brilliant. Let's look at the next bit of the story. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice. So Jesus says, the wise person, they listen to what I say and they do it. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Jesus says that to not listen to him, to not do what he says in life, well, that's like a foolish person who builds their house on sand. Can you imagine if you went to the beach and you thought, well, this beach is lovely, beautiful. What a great place to build a house. But when the sea comes in, imagine if you've ever built a sandcastle, you know what happens when the sea comes in. Whoosh, the sand gets washed away and the house crashes down. Now, sadly, I haven't got a beach here at the chapel, but I have got a trampoline. And what would happen if we built our house, here's another little house here that I've got, if we built our house on the trampoline? Is that going to be like our nice solid table, like the rock, or is it going to be like the sand? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Oh no! Crash! It's all fallen to bits. And Jesus says that's what it's like if we don't listen to him and put his words into practice. You see, if we want to know what the right thing to do in life is, what the best way to live is, the kind of people we ought to be, how we ought to treat other people, what we ought to do with our stuff, the kind of things we ought to say and the kind of things we ought to not say, then Jesus is the best person for us to listen to. Because Jesus, well, he lived a perfect life. So he's the perfect one to teach us. And Jesus, he's God. He's the one who made the world. And so because he's the maker, he knows the best way for us to live in the world. And so if we want to be wise, if we want to live well, then we do that by listening to Jesus' words. And we can listen to Jesus' words because we've got them in the Bible. That's why looking at the Bible at school, or maybe some of us do it at home and things like that as well, is so wonderful and important. Not just for learning more knowledge or more facts about the Bible, but because it helps us each day to know how we ought to live. And I know a cool song about that, about how wonderful the Bible is. Some of you might know it, but some of you might just want to sit back and listen and enjoy. Yeah, if I can make it work. Here we go.
That shape the sky and sea and land. The King has given words to us to tell us what he's like. Open up your ears and let his spirit strike. It's a light and a hammer, it's a fire and a sword. It's the voice of our Father, the word of the Lord. The blade of the Spirit can cut to the soul, and God will use it to make us whole. Hear the news of the promised King who came to save. Hear the news of Jesus who rose from the grave. It's a light and a hammer, it's a fire and a sword. It's the voice of our Father, the word of the Lord. The blade of the Spirit can cut to the soul, and God will use it to make us whole. Know the name of Jesus Christ that makes us new.
Know the Son of God, the Word whose
Word is true. Our King has spoken to us, so there is no place for pride. He gives hearts of flesh and changes us inside. It's a light and a hammer, it's a fire and a sword. It's the voice of our Father, the word of the Lord. The blade of the Spirit can cut to the soul, and God will use it. It's a light and a hammer, it's a fire and a sword. It's the voice of our Father, the word of the Lord. The Spirit can cut to the soul, and God will use it to make us whole.
Excellent. I hope you enjoyed that. So remember, if we want to be wise, we need to be people who build our house on Jesus' words, who build our house on the table, not people who build our house on the trampoline. Is that right? On the rock, sorry. My illustration. On the rock of Jesus' words, not on the sand. By trying to think things through always our own way. And it's great for us to want to be wise, and that's why wisdom is one of the key parts of the school vision at St. John's. And so while we finish off our worship time together today, I thought it'd be good for us to say those words together as they come up on the screen. So let's say together, St. John's school vision: I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. At St. John's, we foster an ethos deeply rooted in the Bible, underpinned by faith and committed to educational excellence. In our community, we respect that everyone is uniquely made in the image of God. We grow together in wisdom, compassion, strength, and instill a sense of hope for all to flourish. We make a difference.